The silent forest when Aisha inherited her late uncle's cabin deep in the woods. She saw it as a chance to escape her stressful city life. The cabin was secluded, surrounded by towering trees, and the nearest town was miles away. Though peaceful at first, there was an unsettling quietness in the forest. No birdsong, no rustling leaves, just an oppressive silence. The first night was uneventful, but on the second night, as Aisha lay in bed, she heard faint footsteps outside. She dismissed it as an animal, but the sound was deliberate, slow, heavy steps circling the cabin. Gathering her courage, she peeked through the curtains, but there was no one there. The following day, she decided to explore the forest. She found peculiar signs, trees with deep claw marks, strange symbols carved into the bark, and a chilling discovery: a clearing where the ground was littered with small animal bones. As she turned to leave, she felt like she was being watched, but again, she saw nothing. That night, the footsteps returned, louder and more insistent. This time, they stopped directly outside her window. Her breath hitched as she saw a shadow pass by the curtains. She locked every door and window and stayed awake until dawn. Determined to leave the cabin, Aisha packed her belongings, but her car wouldn't start. She called the nearest mechanic, but the weak signal made it impossible to explain her location. Resigned, she decided to wait until morning. As darkness fell, the silence grew oppressive. Around midnight, the footsteps returned, but this time, they were accompanied by a low, guttural growl. Panicked, Aisha grabbed a knife and barricaded herself in the bedroom. The growling grew louder, and then there was a knock, slow, deliberate, and echoing in the stillness. Summoning her courage, she shouted, "Who's there?" A voice, eerily human yet distorted, replied, "Let me in." Terrified, she refused. The voice began laughing, a cold, hollow sound that seemed to come from all directions. Suddenly, the bedroom door rattled violently, and the windows cracked under the pressure of an unseen force. Just as Aisha thought the door would break, everything stopped. The silence returned, heavier than before. The next morning, she found claw marks on the front door and the strange symbols carved into her car. She fled the cabin on foot, leaving everything behind. Weeks later, Aisha learned that her uncle had disappeared in the same forest years ago, and the locals spoke of a malevolent presence that guarded the woods. No one who encountered it ever came back the same. Even now, Aisha avoids forests. But sometimes, in the dead of night, she hears faint knocking and the echo of that distorted voice. "Let me in."